2022 has been a difficult year for most Americans. I mean, interest rates are high, the stock market is crashing, and inflation is getting out of hand. Now, for some people, they're ready for it, and they've been preparing for certain things to occur. But of course, when people are economically weak, when times like this come, the weak get weaker, especially in our bigger cities and metropolitan areas. New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago. Now, speaking of Chicago, there is a situation right now with a 36-year-old lady by the name of Sandra Kalalu. And of course, Chicago is not cheap. It is very expensive, despite being quite violent. It's the nation's third biggest economy, so there's a lot of demand to live there. And of course, Sandra Kalalu is a Benin American, but she qualifies for being a Black American. And if you guys didn't know it, Black American women, or African American women, or Black women in general, are the most likely group to be evicted. If you don't believe me, let's check out this clip.
Housing security in the U.S. since the pandemic is on track to become a crisis, and Black women are being affected the most by it. According to Eviction Lab, there were more than 434,000 evictions last year. So for some context to this, the eviction moratorium was in place for a large portion of the year, but the number of renters at risk of eviction as of January spiked to about 3 million and counting. And of those, Black women have the highest average of eviction filed against them at 6.2%, compared to white women at 3.4%. Now that equates to 1 in 4 Black renters living in a place where Black eviction filing rates were almost double than that of their white counterparts.
So we've heard it there. Black women indeed are the most likely group in America to be evicted because of many different reasons. But I won't get into that right now. Let's talk more about Sandra Kalalu. Now, she had a landlord by the name of Francis Walker. And for whatever reason, Sandra Kalalu just could not pay her rent. So she was asked to leave. Instead of actually leaving, which most of us would have done, Sandra took another route. And I will play that clip right now.
36-year-old Sandra Kalalu, pictured here in January after she was arrested for battery. Kalalu is now charged with first-degree murder in the death of her landlord, 69-year-old Francis Walker. Kalalu's landlord, who police say moved to evict her over the weekend after she exhibited aggressive behavior.
The deceased, the person who owns the residence, had actually served the defendant with like a notice to leave or an eviction notice. And that was done very recently. I don't want to get the day wrong, but I think it might have even been done as recently as of Saturday.
At 2:30 a.m. Monday, tenants here say they heard screams, and when they didn't see Walker emerge from her unit all day, alerted police.
The tenants and the police went in, and they were able to find some additional blood inside the tenant's room, at which point they discovered the gruesome remains in a freezer.
So Francis Walker, who had a boarding house, you would think that was not so much, money to have. But of course, in this case, Sandra Kalalu took another route. Now, it also seems that she has other problems, which is, an assault against a 24-year-old truck driver. So, I'm not want to put her on all Black women for doing something like this extreme, because it's not true. But the bigger issue is that she took her rage out on the property owner and she couldn't pay the rent. And so she's being held without bond in court. Now, why am I using this story? I'm using this story because we've seen another Black woman get evicted, which was Jalen Rose's sister, Tamara Rose, in nearby Detroit. And obviously Tamara Rose didn't choose this route, but the case of it is that it's going to get much worse. It's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. Prices are going to continue to rise. All right. And I believe that people who are going to be most affected are going to be many times, women, and especially people who can't fit in today's economy. Now, the United States has a lot of opportunities for sure, but it will take a lot of hard work, a lot of resilience. And I think what you're seeing now is people calling out for the government to handle more work programs, more subsidies for women, more subsidies for single moms and things like that. And I get it that people need help. I mean, I understand it, but temporary help is to get people, you know, into a situation where they can produce for themselves, not to keep them there. And what's going to happen is, you know, the country is just going to not be able to sustain itself by just keep helping people. And also, let me tell you this, I believe a lot of real estate owners are looking at this, you know, do you want to rent to people that you feel like might not be able to pay you? And that's something, you know, it's risky. I mean, think about the moratorium and, you know, people can't pay their rent. And this is why you're seeing in bigger cities like Boston, people are not, you know, renting to single people anymore. People rather would rent to married people. And what's interesting is that the same price for a 2-bedroom in certain parts of Boston is the same price for a 1-bedroom. Meaning that people, if you're a landlord, you're going to say, you know what, I think that it is more likely that a married couple is going to pay me than the single person. And usually that's the right decision. It's the right choice. And I think that a lot of times when people look at, being an independent woman or being an independent man, and men, you know, typically we can downsize, not have so much expenses. But for women to be an independent woman in today's time, it's not as easy as you think, especially living in the bigger cities. That's why a lot of black women are moving to cities that are less cheaper. I think I did a story on that. Some are moving to places like Lansing, Michigan. The bigger cities are, being a little bit more pricey, especially for what the skills that some ladies have. Not to say that some women don't have great skills in the engineering and health fields, but that's, usually a few of all people. To be in the bigger markets and be competitive, the New York cities of the world, the Chicagos of the world, the LAs of the world, and international cities like Tokyo, London, Amsterdam, you're going to have a lot of money and be in the connections and be in the big business to sustain themselves. Some parts of New York City now is going for like 10 grand a month just for an apartment. That's just renting. All right. I mean, it's not even just that. I mean, anywhere like in the world. I mean, even Lagos, Nigeria can run you a lot of money. So the thing is that people are being also less sympathetic to women than before because people need their money. And so I think that what's going to happen is you're going to see more evictions from the more people that, I'm talking about women that are single, women that have children. These are more vulnerable groups. And a lot of times, how much can governments help out, right? I mean, how often can governments help out? You have so much that the governments can do until they can't do anymore. And if that means raising taxes, I mean, that's why people are looking to get out of my state, California. Taxes are just increasing too much and people are not making enough money. So are we going to keep taxing people to help people who can't pay for their own rent? I don't think it's a good idea. But guys, what do you think? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again. Another episode here on Celebrity Drunk. Appreciate you for all that you do. Subscribe, hit the bell. We're out.